First things first, not the best time for the Bucs to be riddled with injuries. Final stretch of the season. Is Tampa cooked with so many key guys now out? The Seahawks coming up just short last night. Is Russell Wilson responsible for Seattle's lost season? And Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, winners of 7 in a row. Watch out, people who doubted the Chiefs 7 weeks ago. Watch out. Oh. Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jenna Wolfe.
Talking to that
Chris
big
Broussard.
dummy.
The guy we're talking to, Kevin Wildes and Nick Wright. Nick, Chiefs must be getting pretty comfy at the top of the tiers. I assume they're still at the top of the tiers. Where else could they be?
Well, let's not spoil anything, America. Green Bay looked awful good this week. The Chiefs, they're not top of mind because they haven't played since Thursday. Maybe there'll be a switcheroo at the top of the tiers. Gonna have to wait until about 8:06 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah,
about 8:06 a.m. Eastern.
Switcheroo. The old switcheroo. All right, well, while Nick is thrilled with his Chiefs, I would imagine he's most definitely not thrilled with his Lakers these days. Lakers hosting the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns last night, and despite 34 points from LeBron James, Lakers still got blown out. Not a good look for a Lakers team who's dropped their third straight. For a Lakers team who's now 16-16 and even 500 on the year, not what we expected. Not what LeBron expected. He was asked after the game if this group is even capable of raising their level of play. Listen to what he had to say.
We have no idea what this team can be of, and when you have, Trev, who's just his second game back, no K-Nunn. I missed, a bunch of games. Now AD's out, and a bunch of guys in protocol. Our head coach is out, so how can we really fully assess what we have, when we haven't been whole? I can't remember the last time, we, played the same starting lineup and had the same rotation coming off the bench. It's been a long time. So it's hard to assess that.
Hey, it's an honest assessment from LeBron. Broussard, I'll start with you. You agree with him that it's, quote, hard to assess the Lakers right now?
Jenna, some will look at what LeBron said as an excuse, but everything he said is actually right. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's been a disjointed season for the Lakers. There are 3 big guys, LeBron, AD, and Russell Westbrook. 3 guys that we knew would need major time on the court together to bring their games in sync with one another, have only played 15 games so far. They're 8-7 in those games. And here's a fun fact. LeBron, with all of his big threes that he's had, the guys in Miami, here's the graphic. Look at that. With Bosh and Wade, they were 9-6 in their first 15. Kyrie and Love, when LeBron in Cleveland, 8-7. And obviously here with the Lakers, 8-7. Now, the problem with this is, those 2 teams made the finals, by the way, the Cavs and the Heat, right? The problem is this, though. Yeah. That was a much younger LeBron. And that was LeBron at the peak of his powers. He's still playing great basketball, obviously putting up big numbers, but he's not at the peak of his powers as far as dominating and controlling the game like he used to. And here's the thing. What LeBron said is right, but that is now a part of who the Lakers are. LeBron himself has missed 78 games over the 3+ seasons he's been with the Lakers. 78. In his first 15 seasons, Nick, he missed 71 games total. So you can count on LeBron missing some games. AD, we know, has been injury prone throughout his career. Missed half the season, literally. 36 of the 72 games last year. And now he's already about to miss 4 to 6 weeks with this knee injury. So it's hard to see if the Lakers ever having like a really long stretch of a month and a half to 2 months where everybody's healthy and they're playing great going into the playoffs.
But so here's the reason it's more concerning, though, than just that, is it's not like last year where they could at least lean back on, well, before LeBron got hurt, we were the 1 seed, we were playing great, we were coming off a championship, where they knew that team, when healthy, was excellent. This team, when healthy, and you could argue they haven't really been fully healthy at any point this season, has only ever been mediocre. Here's the problem, Broussard, and I'll go back to you quickly here before Wildes jumps in. The Lakers made 3 big bets this offseason. The first bet was that Russell Westbrook will be able to transition into a third option on a great team, something he's never been before. Is that bet a winner or a loser? That will be determined exclusively by the postseason, how he plays, so put a question mark there. The second bet was that LeBron James in year 19 can still be a top 5 player. I think that bet right now is coming in as a yes. I think LeBron is he the best player in the league? No. Is he somewhere in that 4, 5, 6 range? I would argue yes. I think that's a check mark yes. The third bet, and this is the most concerning one, is that Anthony Davis is going to be as good as, on the level of, the other 2 elite bigs in this league, Embiid and Jokic. And the answer to that is an overwhelming no. And he has not been that since the bubble. Now, this year, again, he was playing better than last year, but he's hurt. But now you're dealing with the injury, all that. So, right, they made 3 big bets. One's a question mark. LeBron's a yes. AD thus far has been a resounding no. They need them all to be yeses in order for this mismatched roster to be able to make the finals. And right now, those look like long shot bets, Broussard.
Yeah, and to illustrate your point about it looking like a long shot, all right, we know they've been banged up and injured, but really good teams play well through the injuries. I mean, we can look at it right now in the league. Phoenix was 5-2 without Devin Booker. Brooklyn last year, remember, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving going in and out of the lineup, and they finished with the 2nd seed in the East. Golden State, obviously, 25-6 without Klay Thompson and James Wiseman. And Miami right now is 19-13, the 4 seed in the East. And Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler have each played fewer games than LeBron. So even though they haven't had time together, Wildes, you don't see a lot even when they are on the floor, to make you think this is going to be a championship team.
So first of all, about why it's hard to assess the Lakers. It's a little bit of like, hey, Wildes, does your car go fast? Like, yeah, I think so, but it always has flat tires, so it's hard for me to assess. Like, well, that's probably is the assessment. You can't go if you got flat tires. But that's not what I'm here to discuss. I am here to discuss the most interesting 4-second snippet from last night's game, which was LeBron James entering the arena with a cigar. Now, some people dismissed this out of hand. They say, Wildes, no, you know what? It's just a pregame walk. Certainly, LeBron James doesn't mean anything to it. I vehemently disagree, Broussard. Vehemently. Everything LeBron does is intentional. What he says is intentional. What he wears is intentional. What he's carrying is intentional. Also, I've never seen this before in my life. Never. So if he came in with an armadillo on the leash, I would be like, that seems like it warrants analysis. I've never seen it before. So here's my quick analysis on LeBron entering the arena with a cigar. I think it's one of 3 things. First thing it could be is an ode to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan ended up stealing Red Auerbach's mantle of most famous NBA cigar smoker. But if it was going to be that, I felt like it would be a bigger cigar and he would have it lit. So I don't think it's that. Option number 2, Broussard. Perhaps it is an early celebration cigar where it's a shot across the bow like James Worthy in Lakers postgame, light it up, beat the Suns. Option number 3, and this is a Dusty special. It's a little Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson shout out that he wants all the smoke from the Suns. Remember, he had a little beef with Jay Crowder and the salsa dancing, talking trash to Campaign on the bench. Maybe he wanted all the smoke. Either way, it was not successful. But what is your take on LeBron entering with a cigar pregame?
Well, first of all, Wildes, this is the second, I've never seen that before moment of LeBron's last few years. Remember, was it last year when he walked in with the wine? I know he was
wine
injured,
glass,
but I've
yes.
never
Yeah, he
seen
wasn't
somebody
playing
go
that
to
game.
work
Yeah.
with a glass of wine. Go to work, whatever your job is. I've never seen that.
Well,
all right.
but
so that's
don't see me at
twice.
7:25.
But Wilds, I dismiss your first two options. Possibly number three,
Okay.
I want the smoke. Like you said, they've had issues with Phoenix, a rivalry somewhat. Okay, but I'm going to throw you a fourth option that I think it is. I think it's LeBron, like, everything is good. I got this. All right? The people are panicking. We're barely above 500, which they were entering the game. We're good. I got this. I'm relaxed. Y'all calm down. I think that's what he was saying. And you're right, Wilds. It wasn't random. It wasn't happenstance. He did it for whatever reason, on purpose.
No,
it looked odd, Nick, though. What made it look even odder is that he's wearing a mask. Like, you ain't, when you smoking that bad boy, like, when you gonna get to do that?
On the drive-in. Hold on. Hey, Wilds, there are certain things.
Yeah.
If I wanted to know how to do, like, the exact perfect pompadour, I would go to you. There are certain things you should just direct at me as the resident cigar smoker on the show. Guys, listen, this is no psychoanalysis needed. LeBron likely smoking the cigar on the drive-in. It's probably an expensive cigar. Doesn't want to waste it. Wants it for after the game. As any cigar smoker knows, it's going to stink up. That's probably a $2,000 jacket. You want him to put it in the jacket, get the ash and all the nonsense? No, man, you got to hold it.
Of course I don't
you
want him to
carry
put it in
it,
the jacket.
set it by your locker.
Someone next to
Yeah,
him
you don't want to.
that's gonna
You don't
hold
put
it?
a half-smoked
You can't drop
cigar
it in the trash?
in a pocket of a pants.
Give
No,
it
you're
to
not dropping it in the
someone?
trash. You're going to drop it.
Please.
Then you drop
Someone hold it?
$72 in the
Put it in a
trash,
Ziploc
Broussard.
bag?
LeBron's got money. He doesn't have Broussard money, evidently.
LeBron,
Just throwing away
LeBron
cigars.
doesn't have that
my
money.
God. I mean, my God, man. He's got wasteful. The guy won't even pay for
That would
commercials
break
with
LeBron.
Pandora. You want him to
Things
throw
I
away
learned in
cigars,
this segment. Go to Nick next time I have a cigar question. We got to switch gears.
That's actually a good
From the
explanation.
Lakers to the Bucs. Will all the injuries to the Buccaneers catch up to Brady down there in Tampa? Talk about that next. And coming up at the top of the hour, Nick's got new NFL tiers. Wilds and Brew picks them apart. I sit back and watch it unfold. It is the most wonderful time of the week. Be right back. First things first.
Wow.
Time for Drawing a Blank. Bucs coming off an awful shutout loss to the Saints this weekend. On top of that, the team now riddled with injuries will reportedly be without Leonard Fournette and Levante David for the rest of the regular season. And remember, receiver Chris Godwin also done for the year. We learned that yesterday. He's out with a torn ACL. So, Broussard, Tampa's injuries should have Bucs fans feeling blank.
They should look at it as glass half full, Jenna. Glass half full. Now, it'd be easy to look at it as glass half empty. There's no doubt about it. You got a lot of injuries. They're coming off a bad loss. And Tom Brady, and look, as good as I still think he is, we saw in New England, and I was saying this back then, what he was without weapons. There was a time in his career he could carry guys that weren't great at the skilled positions. No longer. He needs great players at those positions. However, here's the thing and why you should look at it as glass half full. Antonio Brown, whatever you may think of him, he can replace Chris Godwin. Antonio Brown, when at the peak of his powers, is better than Chris Godwin, as good as Godwin is. So you got that. Mike Evans is week to week with his hamstring. So even if he doesn't come back this week, he should be back definitely for the playoffs and hopefully close to full strength. Leonard Fournette. I love Leonard Fournette. But Ronald Jones can replace. Ronald Jones was starting over Fournette last year and looked good in this game on Sunday when Fournette was out. You saw how hard Ronald Jones ran. And Gio Bernard should be back for the playoffs as well.
Yes.
The little pesky catch receiver out of the backfield. Yes. And then Levante David could be back for the playoffs as well. So they got Carolina twice. Carolina's lost his last 4 games, and Cam Newton's running on fumes. And the Jets. Yeah. So at the very least, they should go 2-1, and if not 3-0. Still have a shot at the 1 seed, Nick. So they got time to get healthy and get right. Glass half full.
Well, I think they're even going 3-0. I think they're around 25% to get the 1 seed. So I don't think they're going to get the 1 seed. And I also don't know that I fully believe all of these dates on injuries. It's very odd to me, Wilds, that aside from Godwin, torn ACL, there's no way you can fudge that. All these injuries, miraculously, it's like, but should be fully healthy right when the playoffs start. Yeah, or they're just trying to LeVar Ball speak that into existence. I think at least a couple of these guys are not going to be available for the first playoff game. And so I think the injuries are concerning. To use Broussard's analogy, I wouldn't go glass half full or glass half empty. I would go broken glass. Like, yeah, it was full, but now it's shattered on the ground in pieces and the juice is everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Because the team is breaking as we speak. So, Wilds, my answer is reverse deja vu. This is just like last year, except the opposite. Last year, the final 4 games of the season started off with a bang. This year, the final 4 games of the season started off with a shutout. Last year in the playoffs, they're playing a team on their 4th string quarterback. Then they're playing a team without its all-world left tackle. Then they're playing a team without its entire offensive line. Now, going into the playoffs, they're the banged-up team. And I do not think the Bucs were the best team in football over the totality of last season. I think they got hot and healthy at the exact right time. Remember last year, they were without Vita Vea for a good portion of the regular season. Then they got him back. While everyone else was losing guys, they were adding guys. This, to me, Wilds, just feels like the opposite of last season. I think it spells real problems for the Bucs come the playoffs, even though I fully agree they're going to go 3-0 over their last 3. Matt Rule and the Panthers with Cam are a total mess, and the Jets are the Jets. So I do think they'll get to 13-4, but I think it'll be a misleading 13-4.
Okay, the reverse deja vu. I don't remember you saying that before. What? Huh? Okay, my answer is like Jake Paul's opponents. Literally. Because to fill in for all the injuries, the Bucs signed Le'Veon Bell, who most recently was not thinking about football. He was thinking about trying to fight Jake Paul. Fight me. Stop trying to fight people who can't box, said longtime running back Le'Veon Bell. Hey, Jake Paul dismissed it. Hey, Jake Paul's like, no, man, talk to Woodley. He's saying you can't box. How about you fight Woodley? You don't get to fight Jake Paul. So Le'Veon's like, fine, I'll go compete for a Super Bowl. It is a very odd career path. Look, the guy had 2 1,200-yard rushing seasons with the Steelers, and he sat out. Then it went down to 780 for the Jets. Then he had a cup of coffee with the Chiefs. He talked trash to Andy Reid. Nobody liked that. And most recently, he ran for 83 yards in 5 games with the Ravens. The Ravens said, like, we're out on you. So, look, I don't think Le'Veon is the answer, but it feels like the Bucs are grasping at straws. I'm actually surprised, like, Adrian Peterson doesn't pop up, maybe? Someone else, but Le'Veon's not the answer, Jenna.
Bruce, go ahead, Jenna.
No, I was just going to say, they just have to bring Big Ben in. You got all 3 Bs back down there now in Tampa. It'll be like the perfect thing. Everyone's washed up, come together, maybe you make something
that's
out
right.
of it.
Yeah, if something happens to Brady, see if Ben's available, a little playoff signing. The point I was going to make is we know that Brady still to this day in big spots loves going to Gronk, and Gronk ostensibly is still healthy, but that would be a big concern to me as well. That Gronk, who suffered a significant rib and chest injury earlier this year, that he's now going to have more targets going into the postseason than he otherwise would have, and more opportunities for him to get dinged. And Broussard, just quickly here, I also like Ronald Jones, but doesn't it feel to you like the Bucs don't? Like that Leonard Fournette immediately jumped him in the depth chart, and that they were trying to go to Gio, your guy Gio, instead of Ronald Jones out of the backfield. It really feels like, even though people liked Ronald Jones before Brady got there, that since Brady's been there, he's been the forgotten man as far as, the potent offense.
Well, last year was fine for most of the regular season with him, but he got in the doghouse somehow. I don't know if he was hanging out with AB too much, but somehow he got in the doghouse. And to your point quickly on Gronk, I would use Gronk
AB's in the guest
smartly.
house.
I would use Gronk smartly, Nick, over these next 3 games. Because you got Brait and you got O.J. Howard. You can use them. Because you're right. You don't want to expose Gronk too much to big hits. So just use him when you need him.
Pitch count
but
Gronk
get those other 2
the
for
playoffs.
these next 3 games. Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, while times are tough in Tampa, things are looking up in Kansas City. How big is the gap between them and Nick's tiers? First things first. Back after this. All right. It is just past 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, time for Nick to unveil his new NFL tier. So the playoff picture getting kind of crazy with 3 weeks left. Only 5 teams have been eliminated. 13 of the 14 playoff spots still up for grabs, which brings us to Nick's new NFL tiers, the roadmap through which we navigate the season week by week. All right, Nick, take us through week 16, if you will. Good, sir.
Oh, I am happy to do it, Jenna. Reminder, the 5 teams that have been eliminated will not show up on the tiers. So let's show the bottom part of the league that is not yet officially eliminated. Now, a little regret by the committee. I got some messages from the committee late into the night saying maybe the Eagles should be elevated to the name tiers. The Eagles right on the fringe after the win. Apologies to Philly fans, but these are those who must not be named. Now, happy to be here, tier. These teams are just happy to still be in the conversation. The Dolphins, winners of 6 straight. The Titans are, to be totally honest, not happy to be here, but they're playing so terribly, but also going to make the playoffs. We have to put them on the bottom row. Saints, big win. That's the happy to be here tier. All right, AFC North Squid Game. 4 enter, 1 remain. The one that remains, by the way, go see your daughter. What are you doing? Get on the plane, buddy. Browns, you're already out. Ravens, Steelers, Bengals. Only one of these teams is making the postseason. None of them look terribly dangerous in the postseason. Odd chatter out of Cincinnati. Would Bengals fans actually rather miss the postseason and fire Zach Taylor than make the postseason and keep him? Something to discuss in Wild's post-show meeting. All right, obviously flawed tier. These teams are just obviously flawed. The Bills cannot beat good teams. The Patriots cannot trust their quarterback. And the Cardinals cannot not be coached by Cliff Kingsbury. Oh, color your buddy Nick Wright shocked when everybody else was all just laying petals at the feet of Cliff Kingsbury. The Cardinals are number 1. Cardinals are number 1. The committee even bullied me into putting them number 1 a couple of times. But I stood fast. And I said, no, every year it's the same damn thing. Start well and then finish terribly. Cardinals go in the wrong direction, wrong time of the year. Legit scary. All of these teams should terrify their round 1 opponent. Any of them that make the playoffs almost assuredly would make it via the wild card. They'd be on the road and a legitimate chance for a round 1 upset. These are some of the hottest teams in football as of late. The Colts speak for themselves. The Niners have gotten it together. The Chargers' upside is as high as just about anybody in football. These are legitimately scary round 1 road teams coming to a building near you, depending on where you live. If you're an NFL city, team's going to make the playoffs. And actually probably not coming to a city near you, but coming to a city near some people. All right, next. Put it all together. If these teams put it all together, they can beat anybody. We know that each of these teams individually this season have played a game where the offense looks like a top 3 offense and a game where the defense looks like a legitimately dominant defense. How often, though, do those games happen at the same time? For all of these teams, the answer to that is rare. But if it does happen, they absolutely unequivocally could reach the Super Bowl and then obviously lose to the Chiefs. But any of these teams, if they put it all together, could be the NFC representative for the Super Bowl. And then the top 2 tiers, committee vindication, if I must say. This is how the season started with these top 2 tiers. Chiefs is the favorites, Green Bay is the number 1 contenders. The chairman of the committee had this as the Super Bowl pick going into the year. And right now, as we are approaching Christmas, it's the Super Bowl we are going to get. These speak for themselves. The Packers have been outstanding post week 1. The Chiefs have been the best team in football, arguably on both sides of the ball, for the last 2 months. So there it is. There is the committee. Broussard, my friend, I know there's bitterness and anger that we're going to reach the end of the year and you will have never gotten a committee invite. Do not take it out on these perfectly manicured tiers, please. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, look, I'm just tired of fighting you on the Chiefs being number 1, so I'll leave that alone. All right, you're not budging on that, and neither is the committee. Your Patriots need to move up, Nick. Obviously flawed? I don't think so. All right, the defense is legit. The coach is beyond legit. The run game is legit. And Mac Jones, while a rookie, is learning every week, to Wilds' point yesterday. All right, so they should be up in the legitimately scary. I'm telling you, you don't really want to face New England in the playoffs, so they should be legitimately scary.
Of course not.
I don't think the Cowboys are in the put it all together class. They're not in the same class as the Rams and the Buccaneers, in my view, so I would drop them a level. And here's my big thing. The Bucs should be on the number one contenders line. If you want to have Kansas City number one, it should be Green Bay and Tampa Bay on the second tier. Now, here's why. And I'm going to use your own words against you, Nick. You said yesterday, Kansas City should be the outright favorite in the league, even though they were tied in the odds with Green Bay as far as winning the Super Bowl. Yeah. But you said the reasoning was because Green Bay is not a surefire pick in the NFC. They're going to have a tougher time getting out of there than Kansas City will in the AFC. Who's one of those teams you're worried about? It's the Buccaneers, as you said, if they put it together. All right? And here's the thing. As much as you like Aaron Rodgers for MVP over Tom Brady, who would you take in a big moment? Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers?
Well,
I'm listening.
Yeah, Brady.
Brady, obviously. Brady.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously.
So the playoffs are the big moments. So that's something else. And they got time to get healthy. So I think Tampa Bay should be on the number one contenders line. Plus it makes it tiers and not like a game of Jenga.
No.
You know.
Okay. No,
so you got 1, 2, 3 and all that.
Hold on. Wait a second. Last week, the Chiefs were the favorites, and we had co-number one contenders, Packers and Bucs. The games have to matter. The Bucs then played their worst offensive game since before Jameis was on the team, and they lost to Taysom Hill. They cannot remain where they are. And they suffered a half dozen significant injuries. Guys, I hope that I have enough cachet and credibility built up with the audience and with Broussard that no one's going to, have hurt feelings here. But let me pull back the curtain and reveal what's going on with my dear, beloved brother from another mother, Chris Broussard. Broussard has a couple, let's call them predictions. Tom Brady's going to win MVP and the Bucs are going to be in the Super Bowl. And both those predictions are hanging by a thread. They're just out there. Every morning he wakes up. He's like, has it dropped? It's like, no, it's still there. I don't know how. It's like, all right, add some lacquer to it. Do something. Try to spackle it up. Don't want it to drop right on my head. And now he's taking it out on the tiers. I don't really know how thread, lacquer, or any of the spackle works, for the record. So that might not have made sense, but I hope people understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So now he's trying to speak it into existence. Broussard, it's okay, man. Injuries happen. Injuries cost my team a Super Bowl last year. It happens. It's the NFL. It's pro football. I know you want everyone to play through all injuries and play at full strength because there are no injuries. There's just nicks and bruises. And when men were men, they all played on one leg walking through snow. I get it. But the Bucs have to be dropped, Wilds. They have to be dropped after being shut out by the Saints. There's no argument there. Wilds, what's your issue with these perfect tiers?
I think that is fair. It's the same reason why I don't have a huge issue with the Colts jumping ahead of the Patriots. I think, you know what? Patriots didn't show up. They need a little tough love. I'm not here to baby the Patriots. You don't show up for 3 quarters and you decide to wake up in the 4th, you deserve to be dropped in the tiers. But I want to talk about the heavyweight matchup this Sunday, Bills-Patriots. I might look at this, be like, are these the 2 best teams in the AFC battling it out? And the reason I say that is not only because they are 1-2 in point differential, also 1-2 in defense, and both tied for 3rd in takeaways, because there was a little subliminal diss in the opening salvo of Nick Wright's tier introduction. It was like there's a cottage industry of people going through hip-hop lyrics. It's like, was that a shot at Drake? Was that a shot at Kanye? Just the tiniest thing. What you heard Nick Wright say is, the problem with the Bills is They can't beat good teams. Oh, well, they did play the Chiefs, didn't they? They did beat the Chiefs by 18 points. When those teams, the Bills and the Patriots, are playing their best, they're right up there in the put it all together. They are threatening to be the favorites. They win this one, woo, watch out.
Oh my God,
did beat
stop it. Okay.
The team
can I
you have is
respond?
obviously flawed. Beat your team by 18 points. I mean, I pretend that didn't happen, but it did.
Yeah. No, we're not going to pretend it didn't happen, but it, to me, has as much relevance as when the Saints beat the Patriots by 15 points. It was 2.5 months ago. The world has changed since then, and here's why I said what I said about the Bills. Aside from their win against the Chiefs, here are the quarterbacks they have beaten, which maybe explains their high defensive ranking. Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, Davis Mills, Tua, Mike White, Trevor Siemian, and Cam Newton. That's all of them. It's Mahomes and those guys. Now, on the Patriots,
You beat up on
we
Daniel
did not
Jones and Jordan
spend
Love.
nearly enough time talking about how mortifying in all aspects that Colts loss was. First of all, we spent a week. Wilds wants the Patriots-Bills game in Canton. Literally said, send it to Canton. Oh my God, what a game completing 2 passes. The Patriots lost a game, allowing the other team to score 27 points, where that team completed 5 passes and threw a pick.
We didn't show up.
They were shut out for 3 quarters. But at least what we know about the Patriots is they take away what you do best. Do they? Because going into that game, it was stop Jonathan Taylor. Stop Jonathan Taylor. Oh, there he goes for a 67-yard run to end the game. So no, they're obviously flawed. They can't throw the football effectively. And Jonathan Taylor just kicked their teeth in for 3.5 hours on national television on a Saturday night. So no, the tiers are obviously correct, Jenna.
Patriots
I don't
deserve
even, next time around, I'll just explain the tiers and we can go to break. What are we doing?
How was the show? Other than that, how was the show? Hey, we got to get Nick's NBA medals handed out. Give him a second to recompose after the tier. Suns Lakers last night. Devin Booker leading the way for Phoenix with 24 points. Suns get the win. Booker just missing out on a medal. All right, Nick, which 3 guys were podium-worthy performers last night?
Well, you know how LeBron must be playing great? Because the Jordan acolytes are out here talking about pregame cigars. LeBron, 34 on 68% shooting, added in 7 rebounds, but not enough as the underman Lakers go down. He gets the bronze. Silver medal, another medal on a losing effort, Dame, 39-7. But they lost to the Pelicans, who, by the way, remember how we talked about how the Pelicans are just so screwed, no Zion, just total disaster? Right now, the Blazers have 2 more wins than the Pelicans. The hell is going on in Portland? And then, because we got to get a winner on there, how about not Doyle Brunson, but Jalen Brunson? No Luka, no KP. Brunson says, no problem. 28-6-3 in a shocking victory for the Mavs over the frisky Timberwolves. So there it is. There's your medal stand from last night in the NBA. LeBron, Dame, and Jalen Brunson with the gold. Take that, Raul. Bob, you're trying to trade him a couple years ago. There it is.
Thank God you got a winner.
Very nicely done. Somehow. Great night for those guys. Not so great for Russell Wilson. Are the Seahawks problems all on Mr. Unlimited? Oh, that'll be a good discussion. We're back after this. First things first. Seahawks, Rams last night at SoFi. Seattle had a great chance in the 4th quarter to get back in it, but Russell Wilson underthrowing DK Metcalf on the deep ball. Jalen Ramsey able to make a ground break it up. Rams closed it out after that. 20-10 was the final. And for Russ, he got off to a pretty good start this season. Then he had the injury. It's been all downhill now, really, since week 4. Nick, I'll ask you, how much of Seattle's disappointing season do you place on Russell Wilson?
Well, he gets more blame than anyone else. He gets more blame than Pete Carroll or John Schneider or any of his teammates because fact of the matter is this. When you have a superstar quarterback, and he's not on a rookie contract. You are going to need that superstar quarterback to be a superstar, or else your team's got no shot because you're going to have holes in other spots on the roster. And Russell Wilson, since week 4 forward, has 7 touchdowns, 6 picks. And I know he got hurt, and I don't hold the injury against him, but I do hold the fact that he obviously and clearly forced his way back far too early after the injury against him. First game back, they lose 17-0, then they lose 23-13, then they lose 17-15. If they can just get to 20 points in 2 of those 3 games, they're sitting at 7-7 and they're fine. If they could have gotten to 20 points last night, they potentially could have won. And Russ last night couldn't even hit his lollipop deep balls that have become such a huge part of the Seahawks offense. We saw a couple weeks ago, he wasn't just missing guys because his hand was hurt. He's missing guys because he's making the wrong reads. Add to that, Broussard, he doesn't run anymore. He rushed for 141 yards all season. So he's not effective in that part of the game. He's not as accurate. His decision-making hasn't been as good. And I don't know I don't have sources with the Seahawks. So I would just say if I were on the Seahawks, he'd be irritating me. We're on national TV and you're doing huddles by yourself. You're having your doctor release a Dr. Ronnie Johnson style statement. This is the greatest and toughest recovery ever. You're telling Brian Greasy you rehab 19 hours a day and releasing video. It's a lot of try hard eye roll stuff. So the short version is, your old buddy Nick Wright starting to maybe feel a little bit the same way about Russell Wilson. Future does. Not a big fan. Don't like how he plays and don't like how he's handled himself this year. And that's before we even, Broussard, get to the offseason shenanigans. So no. Yeah, a lot of this is on Mr. Limited. Very limited.
You know what, Nick? I'm glad you got to it. All right, all that first 2-3 minutes of analysis, just throw it out the window, America. Because what it was all about is Nick Wright doesn't like Mr. Unlimited. Period. He didn't like the warm-up, talking to himself, which, again, I keep telling you, is just the next step from visualization, which all athletes or most athletes do, a lot of them. And so you don't like the cool nickname. You know, he's a celebrity wife. He's the face of the franchise. He's easy to pick on. I get it. And he is having his worst season yet. That's true. And I get that he's the easy target. He was squawking in the offseason. But how about the fact that Chris Carson has played, 4 games this year? All right, their running back who's a 1,000-yard rusher in a couple seasons in the past. All right, they got nobody on running the ball. They don't have a 500-yard rusher, so there's that. Then how about that defense that just can't get off the field? They are the worst in the league in time of possession because the defense is the worst in the league in yards allowed. Teams just march up and down the field. Now, I'll give them that they don't break. They bend a lot, the defense. They don't break. They're pretty good in stopping scores. But teams just march up and down the field on them. All right? And that is a problem as well. Now, Russ isn't, innocent. But I'll say this, and I get it. You and Wilds, guys got a bruised shoulder or, he's got a cut on his finger. You don't want him to play. You've been making excuses for Baker Mayfield and his injuries all season long, but Russell Wilson playing through a broken finger, coming back early, fighting to get back, and he's playing through it. He's fighting through. He's clearly not himself, but I'm not going to punish a guy for playing hurt to try to help his team. Because, Nick, Geno Smith wasn't about to win those games. He wasn't about to beat Arizona. All right. He wasn't about to win those games that Russ was out when he missed. And Russ, final thing, Wilds, was playing well early in the season. Jenna showed the numbers. 129 passer rating in the first 4 games. But for the reasons I said, no run game, no defense, they still were just 2-2. So Russ is a part of the blame, but not the total thing like Nick would have you believe.
All right, Broussard, yesterday you were upset because Baker was doing wonderful progressive commercials. What Baker wasn't doing is doing labrum recovery hype videos with graphics and fast cuts and shots of his labrum. Like, Russ produced a full-on hand hype video. So I think Nick has a point where it's like, all right. You can't produce a hype video and come back and not perform. You can't. It just felt more about Russ than it did the Seahawks. That's all.
It's just like with Mahomes and Rodgers. Russ has won a Super Bowl. All right, he's a future Hall of Famer. He's earned the right to do that stuff. Baker hasn't. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. Okay, so real quick, spin it forward.
But here's the thing.
There was a report coming out.
Go ahead, Waz.
Oh, you want me to? I'll go. Real quick, just Broncos, Giants, Saints were on the radar. Do you think that this is more likely than not to happen, since we think that the Seattle season is going to continue to either flatline or go down?
Here's what I think. If I would have this offseason when Russ had, remember the super team focus, never about himself, Russell Wilson, whose agent came out and said, here are the teams he would accept a trade to, but when no one was talking about trading, and remember that. In that moment, I would have said 3 firsts, 3 seconds, and a player. I'll give you that. If I'm the Broncos, if I'm the Giants for Russell Wilson. I don't feel that strongly about it anymore. Would I still want him if I'm the Broncos or Giants? Wow. Yes. Has my offer
I would trade
gone down based on how he's played and based on the fact that I'm not sure he's going to be universally beloved in the locker room? Yeah, Jenna, my offer at least has gone down a little bit. That's for sure.
All right, that's it for us.
No, Mr.
Skip and Shannon talking some Lakers right now on Undisputed. We'll see you tomorrow.